In the year 2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. And it's crazy, a day stream. I know. Also, friends, bear with me today because I have very bad sinuses, so I'm a little stuffy. It might be sounding like a big old crybaby over here. All right. So I'm going to explain to you guys something that is known as like the 3 levels of understanding when it comes to Bitcoin. And most of this has to do, 90% of it has to do with nothing to do with the price of it. Okay. In fact, let's just go right into it because the first level is the only part that has anything to do with price. And that is the NGU level, or number go up level. Okay. Everybody knows NGU. It's a meme, right? But this phase is like, or this level rather, and these are phases too, because you can consider them a phase or not, whatever. This level is primarily what brings everyone, including myself, into Bitcoin. And I mean, actually, I said including myself, but if I'm dead serious, the reason why when I first found about Bitcoin forever ago, it was so we could make payments to people across the world, right? And it had nothing to do with the price. In fact, at that point, it was just this thing that you could use to send people money that was easier than going to send, a Western Union or a MoneyGram order. And you didn't have to talk to a person or go inside like a Walmart or whatever to go get that done, right? But however, ever since, I guess, I don't know, 2017, when it first hit like $20,000 or whatever that was back then, everyone freaked out and they're like, oh my God, this is number go up. We must buy number go up, right? And that, I think, is what brings everyone there in the first place. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong to want to invest, quote unquote, invest your money into something because you think that it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get something in return for it, right? But see, the only problem with level 1 is if you get stuck there, right? And like most people do, at least from my observance, most people do. Most people just get stuck there and then they just kind of migrate their thinking onto something else instead of into something else, if that makes sense. The reason why getting stuck at level 1 is not like the most philosophically beneficial thing, I guess you could say, is because first of all, it's highly dopamine dependent. Like you get a dopamine response every time you go and like constantly check the charts. Like my God, is number up? Did number go up yet? Did number go up? Right. And then also, like you're constantly concerned with evaluating it, and quite frankly, what is a dying currency, the United States dollar, which we all in the last 2 years, we all know that by now, right? We all know that. No need to sit there and explain why that's the case, but we know, right? And then I'd say also level 1, it would have to do with beginning to realize, and I think this is more so towards like after your initial entrance into level 1, beginning to realize that like it's programmatically designed to increase in value against other things, right? And that's not super hard to understand because, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist if you just consider the fact that the thing has halving cycles and it has a total supply of 21 million, and that there's potentially a large amount that is lost and never returned, blah, 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 et cetera, right? So like it does have a slight inflationary rate, but there's a reason for that. And the inflationary rate being what it is and programmed to being the way that it is also for a reason, right? So that's, and again, I think that's more like at the end of like the level 1 of understanding, right after, because nobody, let's be honest, maybe not nobody, very few people originally get into this like this space because they're like, oh, there's something that's out there that's like, it's like gold if God programmed gold, right? Because of math. Not really, right? You get into it because number go up. But speaking of the programming, friends, let me shamelessly plug here really quick. So this is the next course that we have going on at DD, Bootcamp X. It's not open for enrollment yet. I'm going to be starting the enrollment like in about a week from now. But 4 weeks, guys. I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of programming with Python and JavaScript, specifically React. It's going to be 2 projects after learning the 2 languages. And one of them is more than a language. It's a framework, actually. And then also an entire week of resume prep, strategically getting you set up for wherever you are in the world, whether you're in like Taiwan or whatever, to find out how you're going to source jobs or income, and also help you guys with networking. Because if you missed the understanding of the programmatic part of Bitcoin from Blockchain Fundamentals, well, that one's over now, but we got this one coming up next. However, on to level 2, friends. Level 2 is the realization that this is kind of like, and when I say this, obviously Bitcoin, right? Because that's the subject of today's stream. It is freedom money, okay? And that's not really like the best way to like phrase it, but I mean, I can't really think of any other adjective to give it other than the fact that it's freedom money. And that has to do with the realization that like, hey, you don't need it's permissionless, right? You don't need a bank. It's the first digital non-sovereign currency. And sovereign, when I say the word sovereign, if you think about if you hear the term sovereign currency, guys, it refers to like a country that prints their own dollar because they have their own Federal Reserve and or private central bank, right? And it can't be censored. Okay, we already know that, right? It can't be confiscated, and it can't just be inflated away into oblivion like all these other currencies. And it's kind of like an extension of private property rights in all honesty. In fact, some countries and places are even considering labeling it as property. So, and not currency, whereas others are. And in a way, if you're from America and you're American, this is kind of like the realization that Bitcoin actually allows you to actualize the extent of some of the Constitution of the United States, this 14th Amendment in particular, but maybe the 17th or the 16th, but at least the 14th. Okay. And that's where you kind of make that first jump. You understand, like, it's not just this thing where number go up, right? It has a purpose and has a reason. All right. And that's probably the biggest step. And I think that's where I'm at, and I have been for a while. And we could get into that for like, I could talk about that for forever, but all you really need to understand with that is that it's with the way that it was designed and how it works, the fact that it's basically non-physical. I say basically because, like, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, it is physical in one way, shape, or form. But you can take it with wherever you want to go. It can't be taken from you. You don't need permission to send it or spend it, right? You can send it whenever you want, with just like that. And that is level 2. The level 3 is kind of the tinfoil-y hat part of it. So you guys might have to bear with me on this, but this is, and now you guys have probably seen people go through this phase. I don't think I'm here, but some of it I entertain because it kind of makes sense. But as Bitcoin being like transcendent of humanity itself, I guess you could say. The fact that it's like it's anchored in physics. Okay, anchored in physics. Oh, my red pill's not there. Here you go. It's anchored in physics, and actually, friends, I would like to share this with you guys. This article right here. I have another one, but this is from the Medium. Okay. We have one from NASDAQ, but this one's a little bit more scientific. So, and it's titled "Proof of Work: The Fundamental Laws of Physics and Nature." Which proof of work is in the context of what we're talking about right now. Proof of work is kind of like the concept that brings that transcendence into physics and the realization that it actually has to do with physics. Which like I said, most people don't understand. I don't understand myself, which is why I'm reading this part of it for you guys. And so let's see what they say. Almost since the dawn of Bitcoin, there has been a hot debate over the value of proof of work in cryptocurrency systems and whereby the apparent quote unquote waste, because, and again, I say quote unquote, I didn't quote it in here. What you believe is useful for electricity and what is not useful is, in my opinion, like personal beliefs. I would say, I mean, I live in Miami, Florida, and like at this time of the year, I don't even need air conditioner. So I could just leave the window open, and I could say that if you're using the air conditioner, that's a waste of energy to me, right? But you might think the exact opposite because you might have different belief set than me, right? So that's what I mean by it's a person. It's going to be a person by person basis of what you think is useful and what's not. So wasteful use of energy to buy Bitcoin to secure its system with one day destroying the Earth. I don't think that's going to happen, but anyway, unfortunately, there still remains a basic misunderstanding of the value of this proof of work and the fundamental relationship to energy and work that makes up any and every system in the known universe. One of the least understood and oft cited technologies is this crazy universe that emerged complex system called Bitcoin, and thus by extension, the intrinsically linked proof of work that drives the engine under its hood, metabolizing raw energy and its life force. Wow, whoever wrote this, I like your writing. There may be many ways to describe the Bitcoin system, the Bitcoin product, and the relationship of the underlying proof of work. But an overview of how the Bitcoin system functions at a high level is this. And let's just read this one quote. And this is from Satoshi himself from the white paper. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hashed base proof of work. And a hash is just something that you guys can consider like it's a box. It's not really a box. I'm just going to tell you guys like this. It's a box. You give it an input. It basically will say encrypts your input and then it shoots it out. Okay. Form a record that cannot be changed without redoing that proof of work. The longest chain not only serves as proof of sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. Literally, it came from like the largest pool of CPU power on the network out of the entire planet at that time. So reliable, decentralized, blah, 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 blah. So the first thing, Byzantine generals problem. If you guys don't know what that is, let's see if they can explain it to you guys. So fundamentally, reliable computer systems must be able to handle malfunctioning components that can give conflicting information to different parts of the system. Have you guys ever heard of the Byzantine generals problem from when y'all were in like high school or something? Because if so, it's the exact same thing, right? This is exponentially harder when you begin to network multiple computer systems across a distributed network, and especially even harder if you're talking about like the entire planet, right? Particularly when there is no quote unquote lead or authority. And that's a big important part here. So here's a quote from the Byzantine generals problem, Leslie Lamport, Robert Shostak, and Marshall Pease. This situation can be expressed by abstractly in terms of a group of generals of the Byzantine army camped with their troops around an enemy city. Communicating only by messenger, the generals must agree upon a common battle plan. All right, so like they can only communicate by messenger, and then all these different generals, they have to agree on like the same battle plan that they're going to go when they go into war. However, one or more of them may be traitors who will try to confuse the others. Bet you didn't think about that. The problem is to find an algorithm to ensure that the loyal generals will reach an agreement. So how does that happen with the Bitcoin network? So in distributed computing, consensus protocols are used to achieve accurate state machine replication. A state machine is simply being a mathematical model of computation, and state machine replication is the general method of implementing a fault-tolerant process to replicate these computing quote-unquote states globally in a distributed system. And so the Bitcoin blockchain is a timestamp record, all the states, and the network itself is decentralized and timestamped, stamping the first transaction to send a coin to solve the issue of double spend in a system without a central coordinator. All right. And proof of work and competition. I mean, proof of work is there's a whole lot about proof of work, guys. Why proof is important. And if you guys want to read this article, I'll put this in the chat so you guys can enjoy that, because I'm certainly not going to sit here all day long and read it to y'all. But proof of work is kind of like it's without explaining it, it's the best way that we have so far to be able to accomplish what we just talked about. And yeah, it can be costly as far as energy is concerned. But I mean, I would say, me personally, I would say that, and again, just like I was saying, how electricity, like using the air conditioner when I think you don't need to, is, me personally, my personal belief, a waste of electricity. I could also say that I believe that securing the world's largest open source monetary network that has billions of dollars flowing through it, almost over $1 trillion at one point, is a pretty good use of electricity. Okay. Pretty good use, if you ask me. That's just one drop of level 3. I mean, you guys know Michael Saylor. He, like, that dude, if you guys watched him the last 2 years, he's gone like way into the deep end of level 3, and talks about just like all these metaphysical and theoretical concepts were just they're too heavy to explain on this stream today, guys. But a lot of them make sense. A lot of them, at the very least, if you just glaze the surface, they make sense. And it's kind of crazy to think about that we have technology that does that. So the sad part, and the whole entire purpose of the stream, fellas, was basically, the sad part is that most people just get stuck at that level 1, and that's really it. They don't even get to the level 2 where they have the understanding that this is like this is a freedom tool, literally a freedom tool, a tool for your freedom. You guys might know some other freedom tools out there. I know Mr. Cody Moose, who's over here in the chat, he knows a lot about other freedom tools other than Bitcoin. So to me, it's the same thing, right? And it also, like, once you get past that first step, because again, most people don't, it kind of rewires your brain. It rewires your brain from like a really crappy short-term time preference to a long-term time preference, to where you're able to give yourself gifts in the future, as opposed to trying to give yourself a gift now, which could potentially just be wasteful. Also, everything about that in comparison to like the current monetary system. The current monetary system is just disgusting. And our entire, like, I live in America, our entire country is disgusting because of the current monetary system. The whole world that shares the same system is disgusting. It's very crude and disgusting type of society. But I digress. I might have gone too far. I should have brought my tinfoil hat for you guys today. Hope everyone has a good Valentine's Day. It was a nice, peaceful morning, early afternoon stream. And yeah, that's it. As always, I love you guys, and I'm out. See ya.